I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green, and I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit, cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly, better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder, and I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that every show. And I say that because I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to speak to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take all that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. It is Wednesday. It is hump day. I got an old friend who's going to come on the show, and we're going to talk about financing and all of the numbers and all of that fun stuff here. Tracy St. Clair watching on YouTube. Good morning. Bill McIntyre, let's go. He's on YouTube as well. Good morning. Corey Buchan, happy hump day. Micah Campo, happy Wednesday. Stephen Title, let's get it. Let's work it in this Wednesday. Yeah, it's a crazy Wednesday. Again, I'm actually, building a brokerage, and, we got a bunch of freight moving like I was talking about. And, so just so you guys know, if this ever happens to you, you're not alone. I got a driver who's broken down currently getting fixed in Nevada, which, again, we updated our customer. I have a job site delivery out, where the trucks have shown up, but the crew has not shown up to offload. So we're dealing with that. We had another fall off situation on another shipment. And then we had another shipment where the driver's showing up and he's getting loaded on time and everything. So it's all part of the process, you guys. And no matter what, everybody deals with it. But your communication, remember, is all you can control in a lot of these moments. So keep that in mind as you're out there listening to other shows and gaining insight and everything, you guys. I'm just going to bring you guys the reality of everything we face every single day as we're building things out. And it can seem overwhelming at times when you're in it. And, again, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to spin this, I've been through this shit a lot, and it's just be decisive in those moments. Keep people informed, let your customers know, let all parties know what's going on. And eventually they will work out. Trucks will get fixed. The crews will show up. The trucks will get unloaded. They'll get loaded, whatever that looks like. And then we'll move on. Just stay on top of your communication, you guys, and you'll watch it as the day progresses. Things get resolved as you go. But I just wanted to throw that out there, you guys, because it's not perfect. It's not easy. It's really fucking hard to do all of this stuff. And I just prefer to keep it real with you guys. But I'm going to bring back my old friend here. He's been on the show a bunch of times. He's really the only person I enjoy talking to about finance and truck finance and everything else. So I got my man, James Courier, back on with Finlock. James, what's up, sunshine?
Jolly pleasure as always. Hey, let me ask you a question right off the bat based on what you were just saying. When you've got a day where everything's going sideways and one driver gets loaded on time and everything goes as planned, do you feel like you're missing something or something's going wrong?
Yeah, usually, this might sound wrong, James, or maybe this is the bad mind. I almost anticipate something happening. So it's like I'm always trying to think ahead, like if this happens, this is how we're going to react, and this is how we're going to work through a lot of this stuff. And, from my perspective, it's almost like, I don't know, man, it's kind of like this just goes into my personality. When I accomplish goals, I have a really hard time celebrating those things, because like that's the expectation in my mind of when I achieve stuff. So it's like for me, and I talk about this a lot, man, when trucks pick up on time and deliver on time, that's the expectation, right? Like there's not yes, there's a value in that for sure, but that's not going to win you any awards. I truly feel like how you solidify relationships, and I would love to get your perspective on it from the finance side as well. You solidify relationships when things are seemingly falling apart, right? When things are going wrong, because I think that shows a true partner when things happen.
100% agree. I've always taken a lot of pride in answering the phone on Saturday mornings and on Christmas evening. If things are going sideways, you need to answer the call. And it's those opportunities that really do set you apart from your competition.
Yeah, it is. It is in those moments. And again, like everybody knows, right? Like, any most reasonable people know, like nothing is going to like come about it in that exact moment. But it's the fact that it's that peace of mind, right? It's that peace of mind that comes along with it. And, I just look at it as it's so easy to boast about how fucking great people think they are. But how many people are out there talking about, hey, this is where I failed. This is how I fixed it. And this is how I deal with situations, right? Because
100%.
it's easy to say, oh, hey, look at how successful I am. But like, why? Well, I want to see more content out there from people who are like, hey, I had this deal blow up in my face. This is how I fixed it, or this is what we learned, and this is how we've applied our findings on to avoid it or minimize some of that stuff from happening again.
I'm going to steal Phil Mickelson's nickname and reattribute it to you. It's Fig Jam, FIGJAM. It stands for fuck, I'm good, just ask me.
I'm going to write that down because I love that.
Isn't that terrific?
Fuck, I'm good, just ask me. Oh, that's funny. Thomas Weirden, what is up? Morning, y'all. Let's make it a freight day. Don't truck it up. That's funny. Micah says, good morning, James. Flo, good morning to you. Jeff Dickinson, I always preach this. I always look at the what if scenarios with a proactive mindset rather than a reactive one. If you're reactive, it's too late. Amen to that. So, dude, a lot of stuff. What's going on in the finance world, James? There is, I'm just going to stop and let you talk. You say what's up.
Well, that's a really open-ended question, and not even a question. In the finance world, listen, the reason why I love trucking and finance together is because no 2 days are ever the same.
Yeah.
It always keeps us on our toes. Like Ty just said, you have to be proactive at all times. And if we can do that in December, then you're living the dream. Right now, everything is crazy. The freight market is upside down. We've got some people who are in terrific shape, who have been proactive and saw what is happening now coming 6 months ago. And so they started reducing fleet size or overall numbers in people, started reducing rates when necessary to get ahead of the curve. And, we work with folks from all of freight everywhere. So, carriers from small owner operators right up to the largest carriers in the US and Canada. And we see all of the things happening right now. And so a lot of it is reactive because some of the things just can't be expected right now. Like the articles that you sent me, seeing a 24% decline in pricing year over year. Not sure I saw that coming.
Yeah. It's so challenging, right? Because it's always easy to sit on the sidelines after the data's out and be like, I told you so, right? But that doesn't help your clients, right? You're like the fleet owners who are like having to downsize, or maybe they are buying more trucks, or however they're going through, like that doesn't help anybody out. And I think like this is why it is sitting down with your people on a, maybe it's a quarterly basis. I don't know if you meet with your clients on a quarterly basis and are like, hey guys, this is what we're seeing out here. What are we looking like? Maybe we get ahead of the curve here, especially with all the uncertainty with interest rates and everything else. And the Fed, Lord knows what they're going to do at any given moment.
If I'm only talking to my clients quarterly, I'm doing it wrong, in my opinion. I talk to my clients all the time, and often it's not a sales call. It's just I get calls every day that say, hey, how you doing? What are you seeing on the market? Similar to this conversation right now. And one of the biggest challenges and conversations that we're having right now is because of this massive decline in truck and trailer pricing year over year, month over month. What we're seeing is agreed upon pricing and actual value There's a massive gap between those two figures right now. So folks are coming to us with a truck that got sold, call it 3 months ago. It's finally on the bill of sale now, and there's been a 10% decline in the actual price or the average market price. So you're coming to us with a $60,000 truck or trailer, and right now the bill of sale says, $70,000.
Yeah. How does that?
How do we make
that,
up that gap?
Yeah.
Is the huge issue, and often what we can do as a strategy is increase the down payment in order to close that gap, or increase the schedule of amortization for the first month. But either way, you have to close that gap. Otherwise, both lender and carrier are underwater on day one.
Yeah, because I was seeing something here, James, and I'd like because I don't know the answer to this. Say a dealer, because again, like there's the backlogs and everything else, and they purchased that truck from the manufacturer. Say that international dealership, all hypothetical here, you guys. I want to be very, very clear about this. This isn't anything other than just two dudes with beards shooting the shit about trucks. Say the dealership bought the truck. The international dealership bought the truck from the manufacturer for $150,000. They mark it up, for $190,000 or whatever that looks like, and the market's dropped the way it is, and then it drops below their purchase price at the dealer of $150,000, and they have to sell it. I mean, are they going to not go below 150 grand in this example, or are they going to eat that loss, or do they return it to the manufacturer? How does something like that work? Because I saw something a few weeks back about that, James, where it's like these dealerships bought these trucks at elevated prices, and they're still trying to sell them at elevated prices, obviously, because they need to get their money for their purchase price.
Yeah, well, ultimately what it calls for in that particular circumstance, and all of this is well dictated in advance, but you need participation on both sides from the dealer and the manufacturer at that point. And often the manufacturer will offer some sort of pricing concession. It depends on the OEM and the dealer and what they have contractually obligated to each other. It's different everywhere.
Yeah, no, because I think that's something that will probably get more attention next year, or because again, like we're talking, we'll the order, you guys, the article that we're going to break down about this is from fleetowner.com, and it says class 8 orders solid rather than stellar. Preliminary North American class 8 orders jumped in November, outpacing historical averages as fleets get in equipment orders before the end of the year. Even though backlogs in seasonal fashion are rising, they continue to point to a different market vibe heading into 2024. Still good, but not solid, rather than stellar, said Kenny Veith with Act Research. Net orders of 41,700 Class 8 vehicles last month were up 9,000 from October, and 9,000 year-over-year figures, according to Act Research. A more modest 36,700 net units were ordered in November, according to FTR Intelligence, which figures are 32% higher in October and up 2% year-over-year. FTR reported that the uptick fell within expectations given seasonal tendencies and considerable year-over-year order decreases in October. Total Class 8 orders in the previous 12 months are at 255,500 units. So is there any tax incentive, James? And again, if this might not be in your wheel, but is there any tax incentives to that change year over year of hey, I'm going to buy a brand new truck in 2023 and I got to get the order process before the 31st because then the changes for 2024?
I'm really not familiar with the tax incentives as far as truck orders. What I would imagine is that fleet managers and CFOs are sitting down right now and looking at overall spend for 24, looking at the order backlog that they've gone through over the last couple of years, understanding that that backlog has diminished significantly and is basically back on track at this point. When you and I had our first show together call it 18 months ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We were talking about the 18-month backlog that was currently in place. I think that's back to normal now. We're looking at a 3 to 6 month delivery on most Class 8 trucks and trailers, as far as I've been told. So right now, the fleet owners, the larger carriers, are looking at 24 overall spend and budget, replacement units. Reality is they may not be growing, but they still have to replace approximately 10 to 12% of their overall fleet every year.
What do you think is, when you're speaking with some of your clients about, purchasing more fleets or, their equipment stuff, is there any point of concern that they're bringing up to you about next year when it comes to like equipment ordering, or are they more like, hey, we've seen this before, this is business as usual, we're not going to stop doing what we do to replenish our fleet and keep, newer equipment on the road?
There are always factors and variables that go into play when you're talking about replacing current fleet, and growth aside. One of the biggest factors, like we just talked about, was the order backlog that we've seen over the last couple of years. With that being diminished now, they're not as concerned with ordering today and not seeing that unit for 12 or 16 months. That fear has been eradicated with most of the larger carriers right now. They've accepted all of their orders that they had previously placed, and things are looking back to normal now. The biggest factor that we're seeing is that there are too many trucks to loads available on the market. And so the big factors that we're talking about right now is, where's the stabilization? Where is that equilibrium? And when do you foresee that coming? Your crystal ball works the exact same way as mine. From all of the research I'm seeing, it looks like things start to normalize probably mid 24 to Q3 24. But that all depends on the number of small carriers that decide to leave the market. We're still seeing massive amounts of smaller carriers exiting the market, allowing their certificates to expire. And that ultimately leads to an overall balance in trucks to available freight.
Yeah, I think this is going to, it's going to be, I think it's always an interesting time though in business, right? Because it's like, I think what you're going to find is the people who want to figure it out are going to continue to figure it out. I think that, it'd be interesting to see, because I saw a post up the other day, from a driver, about rates and everything and what they're going through to try and survive out there on the roads. And it's just like, but the thing is I see those same posts, even when things are different. Right. And I think that there's a big opportunity, and why I'm saying this is because I'm like, I think there's a big opportunity for people to learn through bad markets, right? Like, I think if you talk to any of the successful fleets out there, it was a market in a time like this that changed their perspective on how they're going to operate. And maybe it's everything going down to how they maintain their fleets and, investing in building a shop and whatever that looks like. I think like these are the markets that make or break people, not because of the rates for freight, but I think it's how they learn to make smarter business decisions and kind of forecast through a lot of this stuff. Right. And, I saw a lot of, what was probably around the first time that me and you talked, where a lot of the larger fleets were dumping equipment left and right because the market was so high that they're just like, I think it was Knight Swift made like $30-some million in used equipment sale one quarter during that time. And again, you don't quote me on that. I just think that that's what I had saw. But, dude, there's so much stuff like that that's out there. There's so many opportunities. And it's like, that's what I would look for because, as I'm growing out my companies, right? Like, I'm sure you talk to a lot of founders, James, who were former drivers that have built up their fleets. They've bootstrapped everything, right? They worked their ass off with their one truck to buy two to five to 10, and so on and so forth. How are their perspectives different?
It's no different than you and I answering our phone on Christmas Day or one of the days of Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. that situation where we answer our phones on Saturday mornings and Christmas evening is no different than the carrier taking a down freight market and seeing that as an opportunity to differentiate themselves from their competitors.
Yeah. It's, because like going back and forth on a lot of this stuff, right? Because like we just got we got approved for a line of credit for our business, right? And our plan is we're going to be utilizing that to hire and as freight kind of comes in and grows. But it's like, we are out, like having a financial partner, in my opinion, is so crucial to how you can grow and scale, right? Because the reality is for a lot of people, they jump in when the market is hot, right? They jump in because rates are up, freights, the same thing happens on the brokerage world, right?
Yeah.
And but I think like the ones who navigate through are the ones who are out there building up their infrastructure. They have, a partner at a bank, or if they got a factoring partner, shout out Denim. They have partners that are out there that are helping them keep their financials healthy. That's out here, because it's like, and that's my whole thing is you need to, because and maybe it's just because I'm going through it right now, James, and securing financing. Because I'm thinking about, like, in a year from now, do I buy a building, right? Like, because from all signs are pointing, commercial real estate kind of might be the time to buy a building. So how do we do that? And frankly though, but how do we stay financially literate in these times to leverage our assets to kind of grow and scale our companies?
I think you answered the question perfectly within your own question. You need a financial partner on a lot of different levels. We specialize in truck and trailer financing. So we tend to pay attention to what's going on in the freight market and, on everything from the macro to the microeconomic levels to do with trucking and freight and everything in between. So that's all I talk about every day. And it's great, but I can't help you with commercial real estate. So you need a partner on commercial real estate. You need someone who can help you if you need factoring. You need someone to help you if you need a new accountant. Typically the larger carriers are extremely financially literate. They've got a CFO and several accountants and folks who work in an entire department. The small owner operators and call it under 25 truck carriers, those are the folks that typically call and just ask advice, as they should, a lot.
Yeah. No, exactly. Chandler says here, watching over on YouTube, he says this is when you have to master the fundamentals of running a business. The ship needs to be inspected for small leaks that could hurt in rough seas. It's a perfect analogy, right? And kind of what you're talking about, James, is it's like I can only imagine the amount of fleet owners right now, whether it's 2 trucks, 1 truck, 10 trucks, are thinking to themselves, what can I do next time to, calm the seas, if you will, right? And again, there's no perfect solution out there, but it is talking to somebody like you who's seen these markets before. And you guys aren't just like a pop-up, like you guys are a very well-established financial company. You know what I mean? And you guys process a ton of transactions. You guys are out there on both. You guys see larger data sets than most is kind of my thing. So it's like, this is why you need.
I'll use Chandler's point as an analogy. Plugging those small leaks is absolutely important. And one of the small leaks that we see in a lot of small businesses is a massive gap in ratios. So looking at your debt to equity, looking at your current ratio, making sure that you're talking with your accountant or whoever's preparing your statements to make sure that those are in line with what the financial companies are going to look for. That, in my mind, as somebody who's on the lending side, is one of the most important factors. You need to be able to tell the story as to why you want to grow. It's not just, I need 10 new trucks and 5 new trailers or 15 new trailers because I want to grow. It's, I've got this new contract with XYZ company. This is how much they're going to pay me in a year. This is what my future profit margin looks like. This is how much money I need to spend. And this is where my ratios need to be in order to get that loan. it's not nearly as simple as, hey, I need this, can I have it?
Yeah.
There needs to be a story there that the financial documents tell you in order to get that money. And the people who have been successful year over year manage their ratios well. And they do that through financial partnerships with people in equipment financing, their accountants, their CFOs, the people who are preparing their statements. Get your statements prepared professionally.
Yes.
Get at the very minimum, get reviewed statements so that when people like me take a look at them, we know that they're actually worth the paper that they're written on.
I'm going to be honest with you, James. And, again, you guys, because we just got approved for a line of credit like we were talking about. Our banker literally told us, he said, the fact that you guys used a bookkeeper who had prepared financials and had your 12-month rolling balance sheet available for our review, he's like, based on that, he's like, I knew I didn't even need to check your credit. Obviously, he did check our credit, but he's like, based on that information, I knew you guys were a I don't know, like I don't want to call it an easy loan, but like you guys were somebody who we wanted to partner with long-term, because he had said, if you guys took that much thought into the infrastructure and financial literacy of your company this early on, he's like, you guys are the ones that we want to work with long-term, because they know, like, realistic. I mean, obviously it's all an educated guess, right? But you stand out in a crowd, you might be able to, I don't want to say you can get favorable terms or anything, but like, you're going to be so much better off. And this is something that I want to tell everybody. And the same thing applied in James. I think this happened, that we were talking about this on one of our earlier calls too. The same thing happened why I was able to buy a house within 3 years of starting my company. It didn't have anything to do with my financials at the time from a monetary perspective. It was the fact that I had a CPA and I had a bookkeeper who had all of my business financials prepared, that sent everything over to my mortgage officer. So again, you guys, that's 2 financial institutions, 1 line of credit from a bank from our business, and then 1 from a mortgage lender. And then now James here, a 3rd, who had said having prepared financials from a CPA or a bookkeeper is a major plus. All right. I can't sit here and say how much you're going to pay. I know my bookkeeper is, very, 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 very affordable. I would argue the money that I spend with my bookkeeper, my CPA, and my attorneys are the greatest money I fucking invest in my company every single year for the long-term success.
100% agree. And the reality is, if you spend $5,000 or $10,000 a year on a CPA and a bookkeeper to manage your documents and financials properly, you'll probably save double that over the term of a decent sized loan on equipment and on leases and every other thing that you need money for.
Yeah. I mean, you guys, I just, in a day of it seems like it's glorified to raise money. Which again, if you can raise capital, more power to you. But the reality is not a lot of us have access to raising capital, right? Not a lot of us.
Anyone can raise capital, Jolly. That's the reality, is money is readily available. If you want good money at a fair price with good terms and conditions based on what you need, then you have to provide what the bank needs.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, I just think that
it works both ways.
Yeah.
It's got to be a partnership.
No, definitely. Right. And there's just so many little steps that I think people can take to where it's like, again, it's setting yourself up for long-term success. If you go in to start a business, because I would assume most people, when they start their companies, James, they're like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. Yes, there's some that are like, I want to build it and sell it and everything else. But I feel like for the most part, especially in trucking, it's a lot of family legacy businesses. It's small businesses that are out there. But you got to ask yourself, because if you talk to anybody who's been in business for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, they will all tell you an iteration of properly financing your operations and managing your cash flow. Those 2 things are probably going to be the best thing for you long term. It's not make 10,000, spend 12,000. Okay. Like the nice equipment, the nice buildings, all that shit can come in time. And at least from my perspective, I'll get there eventually. But like right now, I got to make sure that I can navigate through this shit.
Again, going back to Chandler's point, plugging those small leaks, making sure you've got the right partners. And dealing with the wrong people is one of those small leaks.
Yeah.
Get the right people in line, work and surround yourself with the right people, and you'll do fine in life.
Yeah. Amen. James, that's it, dude. We're at our time.
Can't believe that's half an hour, man.
I know.
Goes quicker every time.
If anybody has any truck or trailer financing questions, or they're looking, how do they reach out to you, man? How do they find out more?
Reach out on LinkedIn or james.courier@finlock.com anytime. Happy to field any questions from any of your listeners, as always.
Perfect, man. I appreciate it. And that's going to be it for today, you guys. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network. That's how we reach more people, and that's how we help them, most importantly, is because if you see value, your network will see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.